moving on to the next subject, which is also along the lines of controversy happening with the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, is Miss Gwen Berry, who has recently protested during the national anthem at the Olympic trials. So for those of you who are not familiar, Gwen Berry has been someone in the news recently because she is a U.S. track and fielder. Now, wait a minute. Let me just make sure. This is a she, correct?
I don't
Because
even know.
I'm reading another. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, but I believe so. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So she recently, for those of you who are unfamiliar, at the trials for the and let me just go back and clarify that I was in no way attempting to apply that she wasn't for any reason. I just am not extremely familiar with the story and wanted to make sure. But so she recently at the trials for the Olympics actually protested, and I'm going to read a specific excerpt from the article on Yahoo related to this matter. Excuse me. And it says, Gwen Berry, who specializes in the hammer throw, protested the anthem last Saturday as she accepted bronze at the U.S. Olympic track and field trials. During the event held in Eugene, Oregon, Berry turned her back to the flag and draped a t-shirt over her head that read activist athlete. So again, for those of you who are unfamiliar, definitely one that you want to familiarize yourself with. And our official question on the matter is, was Gwen Berry's national anthem protest as un-American as people claim it to be? So with that official question in mind, I'm going to throw this to Mr. PAT to start us off. What say you, sir?
So first of all, I think the term un-American is one of the lamest terms out there. Straight up.
Period.
Period. It's lame as fuck. Like, yeah, I would say stop it. Whoever's saying un-American, stop it.
Finally, I heard it today.
I got you, man. I got you. But yeah, stop it. Like, that term is lame as fuck. The term un-American, straight up, it's lame. Now, with that being said, I mean, man, if being American means bowing down to racist people's idea of America, then, I mean, I guess in that sense, I guess her protest could be looked at as, I guess, quote unquote, un-American. I think there needs to be a more definitive definition of what America is and what it means.
A hodgepodge of racism and bullshit, but go ahead.
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Yep, pretty much. So, I agree with that totally. But yeah, America means different things to different people. There are some people that love America and the idea of what it stands for. And then there are others who know the truth. There are people like us out there who know the truth of America. They know the history and they know how Black people were treated in America. Even to this day, Black people are still mistreated. Whether it's Colin Kaepernick, Gwen Berry, or whoever else, what people need to realize, and this could even go into the whole comprehension talking point that we brought up, because obviously there really is none from what I'm seeing from some of the responses. But we also have to realize that the protest is not about protesting the flag or even the national anthem. It's about protesting against injustice. That's something people really need to be aware of. For the folks out there who keep making it about the flag and about the national anthem, that's not what the protest is. That's not what these protests are about. So y'all got to get out your feelings. Quit the bullshit and get out your feelings. It's not about the flag and it's not about the national anthem per se, even though the national anthem is a problem, you know, and that's a whole nother discussion right there too. But
Stop it.
Right. These folks need to stop it. Stop it with the bullshit. It's about protesting injustice. So let's just be real. The people who get upset about the protesting are most likely racist. They act like they don't understand why Black athletes protest. How can you sleep at night saluting the flag of a country where there is a complete disregard of Black people's humanity? Between police brutality and mass incarceration, the treatment of Black people, or I should say mistreatment, but the treatment of Black people in America, and we could even argue globally, it's just real fucking disgraceful. It's a fucking disgrace, straight up. What these sports events need to do is just play the national anthem and not require that athletes acknowledge it. Just play the anthem, show the flag, and that's it. Move on. That's just how I see it, and I think that's what should happen, because everything else is extra. Everything else is extra. Playing the national anthem and, you know, showing the flag, and then you expect people to stand up and salute and all this other shit. All that's extra. Play the fucking national anthem, show the flag, keep it moving. That's just how I see it. Just do that and everybody will be good. You get to play the anthem and show the flag or whatever for the so-called patriots out there, and then the people who don't want to salute the flag, the people who want to protest, then they can do that too. You know, everybody's covered. Everybody's covered in that area. The thing is, nobody should have to be required to stand and salute the flag if they don't want to. People who want to can do that, obviously. Really, if America is supposedly about freedom, then people need to realize that there is freedom to do whatever the fuck you want to do. One of them being protest. So, yeah, like I said, people really need to just get out their feelings and realize that America means different things to different people. America, whatever it means to you, doesn't mean the same thing to another person. What America might mean to a white person doesn't mean the same thing to a Black person, and so on and so forth. So people should not expect that people are just gonna salute the flag or go along with the national anthem or whatever just because of how they feel about America. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is everybody's different. We all have different experiences. And again, there is the history. You could do the research for yourself. And I'm sure there are people who are aware but don't care. That's fine. But don't try to impose your beliefs on other people. If there are people out there who want to protest the flag, it is their God-given right to do that. They have the human right to do that. They have the freedom to do that. So, you know, stop bitching about who's protesting the flag. And I know people are going to hear this and be upset. Honestly, I don't care, because the people who get upset, I know who they are. And I know I can assume who they might be, you know. So the fact of the matter is, whether it's Gwen Berry or I mentioned Colin Kaepernick or any Black athlete, any Black person, or, you know, anybody of any other race who might have a certain outlook on America, or, you know, whatever the case may be, if they want to have a silent protest, then, you know, deal with that. Because there could be a silent protest, and then there could be the other side of the coin. And when it's the other side of the coin, you bitch and complain about that. So, I mean, what is it? Do you want that? Do you want the more confrontational protest, or do you want the silent protest? And I already know the answer. You want no protest. But see, that's not going to work out for you. There is going to be protests, whether you like it or not. So when it comes to the silent protest, yeah, deal with that. That's just what's going to happen. People are going to protest the flag, the national anthem, really, again, it's really about injustice. It's really about racial injustice. It's not even really about the flag and the anthem the way people make it out to be. It's really about racial injustice. So get that through your head, stop the bullshit, and realize that, America has a very ugly history, and a lot of ugly shit continues to occur in America. And there are people who are going to protest that. Those are my thoughts.
Excellent. Excellent stuff. Thank you for sharing, sir. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. And I think you touched on a lot of great points. A lot of them are going to match mine, but I'm going to be very quick because this is a very simple matter. The question is, was Gwen Berry's national anthem protest as un-American as people claim it to be? The answer to that question is abso-fucking-lutely. And I'm going to tell you why. It was un-American, not in the sense that racists are trying to make it seem, in that she doesn't care about the country and etc. It was un-American because the American thing to do is to pretend like Black people aren't still facing racial injustice. And we are. And what she did was stood up and spoke against it. And so instead of going along with the bullshit and pretending like we live in a society where we have equal rights and we are seen equally to our counterparts, she stood up against it. So, yeah, it was un-American from the sense of the American thing to do is to pretend like racism doesn't exist anymore, that we've progressed so far that everyone has the same rights. And that's bullshit, and we don't. And one thing people need to understand about the protest that these athletes are showcasing is that some of them have actually done their homework and care so much about making sure that why they are protesting is understood that they reached out to veterans to get their opinion on the matter. Example, Colin Kaepernick. A veteran suggested to Colin Kaepernick to kneel. People don't like to mention that because, again, it doesn't fit their bullshit narrative that they want to push. Colin Kaepernick was respectful enough to consult a veteran who told them that they should kneel because initially, I believe, he was just going to stand for the anthem or something along those lines and not put his hands up. And a veteran told him, actually, what he should do is kneel for the anthem. But a lot of people don't want to remember that part, or they act like they're ignorant to that fact. But as you mentioned, Pat, we all know that they are not standing against the flag particularly or against the anthem particularly, even though both of those are symbolized symbols are rooted in racism, which, as you said, is a completely other subject. They're not particularly protesting those two items. They are protesting against the systematic racism and oppression that the Black community continues to feel in this country. So my answer is yes, it was un-American, but not un-American in the sense of having pride in country and patriotism, but un-American because instead of going along with the status quo and pretending like racism doesn't exist just because we had a Black president or because there are progressive Democrats in the office, saying no, every time a cop kills an unarmed Black man, we are absolutely 100% not Americans. Because they don't view us equal to them. They don't view us as another American citizen with equal unalienable rights. They view us as animals to be disposed of. So my answer is yes, it was un-American. It was un-American in the sense that American, what people want to do is to stay in their little boxes and to stay in their little comfort zones and pretend like there are not still entire communities that are terrorized by police officers who are hunting and mistreating people of color for no other reason than they of color. I am proud of Gwen, and I'm proud of the stand that she took. It's that simple. And people need to get out of this bullshit notion that we've progressed so far that systematic racism and oppression doesn't exist any longer. Get the hell out of here. You know what speaks to the fact that that's not true? The disproportionate salary situation in corporate America. A Black person compared to their counterpart makes way less on the dollar, especially Black women. Or let's take a look at the criminal justice system. Why don't we? The fact that, again, Black people are entirely more likely to face the stiffest of punishments, whereas their counterparts are less likely to, especially in certain states. Let's talk about that. It's bullshit to imply that we are in a state of country where everyone is deemed equal.
Can you repeat bullshit one more time again?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat bullshit one more time again?
Repeat the bullshit?
Yeah, repeat the word bullshit one more time again.
Bullshit.
See, there you go, your ad lib right there.
Yep, that's her.
It's basura, whatever you want to call it. But the reality of it is, everyone knows that injustices against the Black community are common as hell and are continuing and have not, and I repeat, have not progressed to a point where Black people can look forward to facing the same justice, or receiving rather the same justice as people of other cultures, people of other races. And what she did was stood up for what she believed in at the appropriate time to do so. I'm proud of her. The answer is yes. It was un-American, but that's because the American way to do it is bullshit. It's to take a blinder, and that's not helping us get anywhere. Those are my thoughts on the matter. I'm going to go ahead and throw it to E-Man to wrap us up. What say you, sir?
All right, so let's put it like this. I know not too much about the story because I haven't been really watching the Olympics. But I do know, in many major sporting events, a lot of protest does happen. This is where many people tend to try to shine or get that, what's the word we talking about? Clout, that many people tend to use in this modern day age, knowing it's a pretty old word. But I just see it as just another opportunity. That's just how I see it. Just another athlete making another opportunity to express something that they wanted to express, but yet they don't have the words to say it. I don't know too much about the story, but I can just let everyone know that, I feel like, I'm in this Basuda moment right now, with not just with her, during her protest and, but the sense of using the term un-American, because till this day, I don't even know what it means to even be American, to really be honest. Like, we can sit here and we can, have these conversations about this whole thing about what is an American, and I can draw it down the line, piece by piece, bit by bit. But, you talk about how the 4th of July is Independence Day, but yet, what independence and what freedom has we gotten as Americans, you know? So when I see, these protests and see, based upon the question towards, was, her protest un-American, I'm like, I can't even answer that question. I can say no, you know, and it can go left. I can say yes and it go left. It can go left or right either way. But I just feel like at this time, I feel like it was just very unacceptable to do something like that. That's just me in my eyes and whatnot, you know? Like,
You feel like it was unacceptable, her protest, you mean?
Yeah, towards her protest. Okay. I feel like I just feel like it was very uncalled for. That's just in my eyes. I just felt like it was very uncalled for. I feel like it was pointless. I felt it was meaningless. Because I mean, what I would have to ask, what was the goal behind your protest? Like, what were you trying to achieve?
You don't think it was the same as Colin Kaepernick, where she was trying to bring attention to the fact that Black Americans still face systematic racism and oppression?
Well, if we're going down that route, and even with the whole and using that, it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say. Because I get, there's been this whole systemic because of, the system that we're in, but
can I let you know something just in case, only because I want you to be fully aware of the matter. She did, in an interview, when asked about it, when they asked her, will she be protesting during the anthem at the 2021 Olympics, she did say this, according to a CNN article. The decision depends on what I want to do in that moment, said U.S. track and fielder Gwen, who told CNN, and what I want to do for my people in that moment. Just so you know, those were her words.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Angel.
No problem.
Yeah, but I just feel there's more that we can do, just from not just from her stance, but just if we're gonna keep attacking this whole anthem thing, I feel like it's now this whole new revolving door and whatnot, because Marshawn Lynch did the same thing, nothing came out of it, and then that revolving door created all these other new revolving doors, like how Colin Kaepernick did it, then, Marshawn did it, and then you had other players doing it. So it just kept, revolving these doors, and, did much change? No, but it became so much of a copycat, I'm not taking anything towards towards what you want to do as a protest, but I feel it really wasn't going to be that much affected because basically of what the statute of the event is and whatnot, like the Olympics comes around every 4 years and whatnot, and many people had put it on their note based upon certain things they've done. And do I feel like it's going to change? Yes, and slightly no, because how the game was before then, impacts were much harder towards us now. Many people are not interested, in those certain things at that moment, at that time, like it's much harder to make more of an impact now for the Olympics in most of the event. And she's actually a hammer throw. Supposedly what you guys told me, she throws a hammer throw. I coach throws. Not too many people watch, women throw and whatnot. Nobody's watching the discus, nobody's watching, like the javelin.
I like all the summer games myself.
Yeah, some people do. But when you look at a majority, there's not that many people even like drawn into something like that.
When I was supporting it, let me clarify.
Yeah. So yeah, because when she told me she was a hammer, I was like, because I've coached throws and I know, coming from the Olympics, like many people don't have that much say, many field events and whatnot, I know the biggest field event that I know people really tune into are mostly the jumps and the hurdling and whatnot, you know. But that's still more on the track though. But mostly, you know, most of the jumps and whatnot, you know, the high jump, the long jump, and the triple jump and whatnot. You know, many people don't pay attention to throws, but and you know, someone like towards you know many because there's a lot more running events, so you can draw more of an impact to it, you know. But you know, I'm on this you know fence and whatnot, saying like you know it wasn't bad, it wasn't good, but I'm so indifferent about it because you know we want to make progress and whatnot, but when it comes towards making that progress, you know, we want to make sure that we're not keep copycatting off the same thing because this whole thing about the national anthem, it's not like it's not like it's becoming that bad. I feel like they just need to remove it, you know, because we all know what the anthem stands for. Everyone knows it. And I think everyone's getting tired of it, you know, but because it's what they're calling tradition and what they keep calling American, which many people don't even know, it don't even resonate with anybody anymore because everyone knows the connotations behind why it's so bad and nobody wants to even be a part of it anymore. So the best thing to do is just get rid of it and whatnot. You know, people say let's come up with a new anthem. I'm like, all right, cool, but that's not going to solve anything. Let's just remove it, you know, and just recreate a better, you know, type of introduction before all these sporting events and whatnot. But because many sporting events were not all sports, but majority of them were created by, you know, not slightly Europeans, but basically stolen from Europeans stole most of it from Native Americans and also Africans who created these sports, which they took that and coined it themselves to create new things. So that's why many of like the big championship games are named after those who are Europeans and whatnot. But, you know, and just to end my thought and whatnot, that I'm just leaving as more of an indifferent person, you know. But I would say all plot towards like her, towards, you know, what she was trying to achieve. But I feel like at the end of the day, I don't feel like anything was achieved at the end of the day. But that's just, you know, I'm just leaving it as that.
Okay. That's a very interesting perspective, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
I think for me, and you know, this is not to rebuke anyone's opinions on the matter. Everyone's opinion is their own, but I don't necessarily think that the intent is that that very same moment that the protest is made, that the entire world is going to change. The point is making a stand and saying we are not going to idly stand by and do nothing. I think the intent of it is to say we will speak up, we will stand out. I mean, athletes have been protesting for many, many years, you know, starting with the three in the Olympics, specifically the three gentlemen who, and I think it was the 70s or 80s, received their medals and threw up their Black Power fist. You know, I think that is the Olympics, but then you have Muhammad Ali and athletes across generations who have stood up for the Black community and protested to show that we are not just your toys. We are not going to just stand by and allow for injustices to keep occurring in our communities without speaking up and speaking out against them. I don't know that every single action is going to wield a viable change, but it doesn't mean that you stop. Progress may be a slow process, but it's a process nonetheless. And so I think for me, you know, especially based on her statement, I don't think she necessarily felt, okay, by me doing this, the United States government is going to break down and get rid of systematic racism. I don't think that's necessarily their thought process. I think these athletes are fed up, just like most Black citizens are. I think that they are ready to speak up and speak out, as most Black citizens are. And I think they're saying to themselves, this is the platform to do that. You know, it's funny because one of the comparisons that I like to make is with Kanye West and Taylor Swift and the Grammys. And I'll tell you why. Most people say Kanye West stole Taylor Swift's moment. And what I saw in that moment was actually genius. Because regardless of what side you're on the matter, you're discussing the topic. And that was the intent. That was the point. Right? You can't necessarily always make change through peace. Sometimes you have to make change through action, and not all of those actions are going to be peaceful ones. For example, I like to consider myself agreeing with the viewpoints of both Martin Luther King and Malcolm X to a certain extent. Sometimes there's a time for peace and discussion, and other times there's a time for any means necessary. And the key is to understand when is the right time to utilize one or the other. But those are just my additional thoughts on the matter. Thank you for sharing your points, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your points. Great points there.